Welcome to Muslim Apologetics Australia. In this video, we're going to show how feminism has its tentacles in Islam and how certain Western Muslim feminists and feminists living in Pakistan or Palestine, like this sister, I presume, where they try and promote feminism into the Muslim world by quoting certain historical information in order to what? In order to advocate for feminism. So they quote, for example, Remix Hay says, Adam needed Hawa, Eve, to enjoy living in the garden. The need for love and intimacy is not codependency. So listen, Adam needed Hawa to enjoy living in the garden. So she's saying they both need each other. Hold that in the back of your mind. Now, she tweeted a contradiction. She says, listen, Maryam's greatest honor was being the mother of Isa. Being a single mother is not a disgrace. Right? Being a single mother is not a disgrace, she says, because Maryam's greatest honor was being the mother of Isa. But hang on a minute. Didn't she say Adam needed Hawa and Hawa needed Adam? And they needed this love for intimacy? So on one hand, she's promoting the importance of a man needing a wife and a wife needing a man. But she promotes the idea of single parenthood. Being a single mother is not a disgrace, she says. Maryam's greatest honor was being the mother of Isa. Sure, I agree, it's not a disgrace. It's not a disgrace. But what are you doing to encourage a woman to get married? What are you doing to encourage? Because these feminists believe we can be independent. We don't need a man in our lives. We don't need a man in our lives, right? We can be independent. I can be just as successful because look at Maryam. She was the mother of the believers. She was one of the best women ever seen. But notice, they don't see that Allah made an exception for Maryam. Made an exception for Maryam. There was a reason why she had to be single, because Allah wanted to use her as a sign, as a miracle against the Jews. He made Isa alayhi salam speak from a cradle. It was a sign. So the intended purpose wasn't that Allah was trying to promote single parenthood. No. But you see, they use certain history to manipulate it to praise single parenthood. Because that's what feminism does. It tries to praise single parenthood. See, I could raise these children without a man. I'm totally independent. But we see the catastrophe that comes out of broken homes and the way children are raised. We see the statistics don't lie. It says that children who come from broken homes have the most crimes. They generate the most crimes. They come to crimes the most because there isn't a father figure in the house. This is statistical reports. Again, we're not saying that children cannot come from single parenthood and be raised as good people. We're not saying that. We're just saying that they are more vulnerable into becoming bad children. So you need to understand the feminism, the way they work, very, very sinister. They try and use certain verses of history to try and lure you into thinking that their feminism is even justified in Islam, but it's not. Wallahi, it's not. They are manipulators. And then they write, listen to this, Nuh alayhi salam's own son rejected him. And they say effective parenting doesn't guarantee successful children. No one says effective parenting guarantees successful children. Being a Muslim doesn't guarantee you Jannah as well. You could be so deviant and evil in your actions. It's only through Allah's mercy you're guaranteed. So who says that anyway? But don't forget, folks, that this person here wants to play down the idea of effective parenting. Effective parenting is very, very important. But this person tries to play it down and say, effective parenting doesn't guarantee successful children. So they want to now disunite families trying to emphasize effective parenting. And then they write, Zakaria alayhi salam struggled to have a child. Then they say, infertility isn't a sign that God is displeased with you. Hang on a minute. Notice they're making an absolute statement. An absolute statement. Infertility isn't a sign that God is displeased with you. Now, this again is an incorrect statement. Sure, infidelity isn't 100% sign that God is displeased with you, but it could be a sign as well. If you're displeasing to Allah, if you're not praying regularly, if you're not doing certain Islamic practices, if you're being nasty towards other people, Allah could take infertility. He could give you infertility. So it could be a sign. Could be a sign that Allah is displeased with you. So again, using Zakaria alayhi salam's struggles to have a child is not an argument. Now you have to love this one. Listen to this. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was an orphan, a widower, a widower, and had to grieve the loss of his own children. The best of mankind experienced these trials too. Listen. A widower. Did you notice this? They have to always, a feminist, love to include that the Prophet Muhammad married the widower. The best of mankind. But why don't they mention that he also had polygamous marriages? He married multiple women. In fact, he even married single women, Maryam the Cop. He even married women who are beautiful, which the feminists don't like to mention. Multiple women, not just widowers. But notice they don't like to mention that. Surely she could have mentioned that he also married, the Prophet Muhammad married in polygamous marriages, and that was also a trial and experience. Remember, the women gathered together and the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had to leave because he got upset at his wives. And so he had to leave. He went and isolated himself. I don't know, was it 30 days, 40 days? I'm not sure. He went and isolated himself. He had trials. Why not mention this? Why not mention this? Why? Oh, no, but he was an orphan and a widower. A widower. Listen. A widower. They won't mention he was also a singular. He also married a single woman as well. Right? He also married Aisha radiallahu anha, who was a virgin. Right? No. We can't mention that. And here's another quote. Rim X Hay says, Lut's wife didn't listen to his instruction. She says, even great partners can be betrayed by their spouses. First of all, obviously she wasn't a great partner if she went with the disbelievers. And right? Obviously she wasn't a great partner. That's point number one. And she's obviously saying even great partners can be betrayed by their spouses. She didn't listen to his partner. Now, this is interesting because a lot of these feminists would say, you shouldn't obey your husbands. You shouldn't be compelled to obey your husbands. So why isn't this feminist saying, well, that was Lut's wife. She didn't really have to obey Lut. That was her choice. That was her freedom. What happened to their freedom and their feminism to disobey their husbands? Oh, now it becomes relevant. Now you encourage that a wife should obey and listen to her husband. And she calls it betrayal on her part. Right? Betrayal. Why? Isn't that what you all preach? To betray the husbands and you don't have to listen to him? You've got your own mind and you've got your own choices. You don't have to obey him. And then she says, Asiya was killed by her husband, Pharaoh. Your abusive partner is not your fault. Yes, I can agree with that. But isn't that like deflecting? Because isn't there cases where women are at fault? What about women who cheat on their man? So notice, folks, this is them trying to condition you to think that women are always the victim. Okay, that's part of their feminism. And then for their manipulation to end, they will try and convince you that their preaching is for Allah. Have a listen. She says, in your broken-heartedness, remember that you are not alone. Even if you have no one, you are in the care of Allah. Okay? It reminds me of those Christian missionaries when they start teaching lies about the Bible. They'll say, Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you in the end. Right? So this is the manipulation they play. And then these feminists post pictures like this, right? They'll say, oh, what society thinks, you know? There's a lady there holding the baby, making some food, and then the husband is resting, you know, not really helping her. But what Islam teaches is that both of them should help, both of them should do the duties. But that's true. You should both do duties, but it's not always true. He could have been working all day as well. He could have been outside working his butt off to bring food and bread home. So the guy's momentarily resting. Right? But no, he can't do that, akhi. When you come home, you have to do this. You have to also do this as well, right? You have to also do this. Right? You have to. That's it. And what we find now is this. What we now find is this, akhi. Right? My editing skills. So what we find is this. And what we find is sisters doing this. Wallahi, this is the majority of the Muslim households, especially in the West now. Right? Listening to LGTBI feminist garbage. Right? This is what they're doing. And this is now what the man is doing. Working, 12-hour shifts, coming home and doing this now. This is what they've turned men into. And then the feminists say, oh, we want men to be men. We want men to be men. We want them to come back to manlyhood. right? We want them, we want our men to be our protectors, to look after us. Like this now. This is what they want. And women are like this now. This is what the women are like now. And wallahi, you know what they're watching on TV? They're watching people like this, Shad Ashayni, quoting how they need to end patriarchy and how they need to end the man's role. They need to end differences between men and women. Men and women are just completely equal. They need to remove gender differences and gender roles, right? The Muslim sisters are listening to this person, Shad Ashani, and you have a look. They say Yeshua. They believe in God. Apparently, they've got the LGBTI sign there. Look, they believe in homosexual rights, LGBTI rights from TED Talk, right? And the Muslim sisters are using her as their life coach. Life coach. These are the feminists they use as life coach. So brothers, when you are having broken marriages, when you're having difficulties with your wives, you know how they say, monitor your children what they watch? You know, because as parents, we need to monitor what our children watch, right? Because we will need to safeguard them. Wallahi, brothers, you need to monitor what the sisters watch while you're at work. Wallahi, they're being polluted soon as they open their phones, soon as they open up their social media accounts, soon as they open up their TVs. You got to monitor what they're being brainwashed to in the West. Wallahi, you're all finished. You're all finished. You need to either leave, pack up, go to a Muslim country, remove social media from their lives and your life. This is for the men as well, because you're falling into sin, you're falling into fahisha, you're falling into watching the wrong material online. You should remove that too. And just seclude yourself, because temptation, you're all tempted. You're all tempted. And I know some brothers say, oh bro, but you know, how can we remove social media? Well, if you can't control yourself, that's the best thing to do. If that's what it takes for you to abstain away from sin, then sorry, your akhlaq and your deen isn't strong. Possibly the only ones that could probably have social media accounts are the ones who are religious and pious. But if you're working through your iman, stay away from social media. Because all it's filled with is garbage. And these people say, oh, look, we got to ban Andrew Tate, right? He's an advocate for men's rights, right? Oh, we got, the feminists, the leftists who have a meltdown when they listen to Andrew Tate. And I'm not saying I agree with everything Andrew Tate says, but yes, there are a lot of things in there that are true. And people have a meltdown about it. And they say, oh, we got to ban Andrew Tate. We got to close his account. Well, hang on a minute. So you want to close his account, but if a man wants to come into the house and see that his wife is, watching the wrong stuff on social media, and he switches off the internet and dismantles it, oh, that's oppression. But what about what you are doing to Andrew Tate? Closing his social media accounts. Because you don't want all the other men to be infected by Andrew Tate. So why the double standards?